Hi, I'm Matt Ellefson, founder of Survive It, and welcome to Fearless Friday. Today, I'm going to talk about precision medicine, what it is and why it's important. We get a lot of questions about precision medicine, and there seems to be a lot of confusion about how that differs from yesterday's and, unfortunately, most of today's standard of care. This is a somewhat complex issue, so I'm going to share my experiences with this in a way that I'm hoping everybody can understand. Let's start off with a very simple explanation of how cancer presents itself, because I think that's important to understand before you can really grasp what's behind precision medicine. Well, we've all heard about our DNA and our genetic blueprint. Our DNA consists of genes we receive from our parents, which those we have no control over. However, our genes are influenced by our environment and our lifestyle choices, which we can control. Now, cancer begins when we damage a gene in some way or when our cells replicate and grow new cells, and sometimes they create a typo in the copying of our cells. And this typo is called a gene mutation or gene abnormality. And much like your cell phone's autocorrect feature, our body also has an autocorrect feature that can correct, repair, or destroy that bad gene. But also, like your cell phone, and especially my cell phone, it doesn't always work properly or doesn't recognize the typo for some reason. And excuse me. And when this happens, the abnormal gene, that mutation, begins to grow and form abnormal cells or cancer cells. So, how do we remove, treat, or kill these abnormal cells before they take over our body and kill us? Well, this is what many smart and dedicated researchers have been trying to figure out for years. Unfortunately, we're not quite there yet, but we have made some significant improvements. Now, if you've been diagnosed with early stage cancer, like stage 1 or 2, it's often treated by surgery, where the cancer and surrounding tissue is removed from your body. And this often results in a cure with no worry of the cancer ever returning. If you've been diagnosed with a late stage cancer, like stage 3 or 4, where the cancer has spread to other parts of your body, surgery is often not effective, and therefore the cancer needs to be treated. And in most cases, this is not curable, but it can be very life-extending. And in years past, and unfortunately very often today, the only option to treat cancer is with chemotherapy and radiation. And in some cases, this can be very effective. But in many cases today, there are better treatment options available. Now, in general, chemotherapy kills fast-growing cells. The fast-growing cells in your body, and since cancer cells are fast-growing cells, chemotherapy kills those cells, and that's the theory behind it, and that's how the medicine works. It also kills healthy fast-growing cells in your body, such as hair and your fingernails, which is why patients often lose their hair during chemotherapy treatments. And if a patient is under treatment with chemotherapy long-term, it can take a tremendous toll on your body because it's very toxic, and not only toxic to the cancer cells, but to all cells, including our healthy cells. And in my case, they loaded me up with chemotherapy toxins, giving me as much as possible without killing me, and then they allowed me to recover over a period of 6 to 12 months. And fortunately, I was a healthy patient, so I was able to endure it. It was effective short term, However, it didn't kill all my abnormal cells, and unfortunately, my cancer came back. Now, chemotherapy is still used as standard of care today, and it can be effective, but it is often very harsh and requires a very healthy patient to be able to endure full doses for the full extent of time required to effectively kill the cancer. Now, however, in the last 10 to 15 years, genomic-based treatment strategies have been used with much greater success and fewer toxicities and side effects to the patient. This treatment strategy is called precision medicine. Now, I said in the last 10 to 15 years, but for the most part, it's really been in the last 5 to 10 years where it's really taken off. And precision medicine identifies which gene abnormalities or mutations you have and targets only those mutations with medicines designed to stop their growth. Now, these medicines do have side effects, but in most cases they are much more easily tolerated by patients over extended periods of time. Now, the only way for you to know if you're a candidate for one of these targeted medicines is by determining which gene mutation you have. And the only way you can determine which gene mutation you have is by having your tumor biopsy tissue tested using a method called genomic sequencing. Now, this is very sophisticated equipment, and I won't get into that, but it has the ability to identify which genes are mutated in that biopsy tissue. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I thought my doctor was up to date on all of this and on all of the latest and most innovative diagnostic options and treatment options available. After all, I was at one of the highest rated cancer centers in the world. But the truth is, I wasn't tested for all gene mutations. And I work with hundreds, literally hundreds of cancer patients, and the majority of the time they are only tested for the gene mutations that their current doctor can treat at their cancer center. So if a patient has a gene mutation that another cancer center could treat effectively, through a clinical trial, they are never given that opportunity. They don't even know about it. They don't even know they have that gene. So unfortunately, they're just never given this potentially life-saving opportunity. Now, that is why it's extremely important for you to request that your biopsy tissue be tested using comprehensive genomic sequencing. Comprehensive genomic sequencing tests. It tests for all known gene mutations that cancer researchers have discovered and they believe contribute to the development of cancer cells. And currently that includes between 300 and 400 gene mutations. Oftentimes doctors today, if they test at all, will test for only 3 to 6 gene mutations. And I can't tell you why. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. In fact, it angers me in many ways, but it happens over and over again. Even the large, well-known cancer centers, they do it. And the only way to ensure it won't happen to you is for you to request that the testing be performed. We've included a document below that you can use to request this testing. You just take it to your doctor's office and request that you have this performed on your biopsy tissue. Now, there's a lot more to effectively living with cancer, but if you get this one thing right, the odds of you surviving long term just went up immensely. So take this very seriously. This could be life-saving to you. And as cancer patients and survivors, we all need to stick together and help each other. None of us wanted this challenge in our lives. But if we're all in on this together, we will create a world free from the fear of cancer. I'm Matt Ellefson, and until next time, stay strong and live fearless.